Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Bouk and Zoobie show on the world famous LAR.com, 927LAR.com, and YouTube. I am John Kalaboukas, the Bouk, with my friend Paul Zubulake, Zoobie, and special guest, NFL draft guru, Alexander Stam. Welcome back, Alexander. We're very excited to have you on.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I know last time I was on, I nailed like almost everything I said, so I'm not trying to brag, but yeah.
Humble brag, but that's the best thing about it, right, Alex? Is that's what's so
Mm,
great about our show is that you get on the record. So when you're
mm.
filling out, those job applications with all the NFL teams now, starting out, basically making, I shouldn't say making photocopies anymore, right? It's more like editing 7,000 hours of college football tape. But I'm sure you would take that job in a heartbeat, right?
I mean, it's hard to say no to anything like that.
Anything, right? Yeah, so actually, Alex, give us a quick update. So you're still at Fairfield, right? You're not there physically today because it's winter
Yeah,
break. But what year are you now?
halfway through junior year. Yeah.
Halfway through junior year. So I think right.
Mhm.
First appearance was your freshman year, correct? Or was he high school? I can't
Oh
remember.
no, it was senior
Still,
year of high school.
yeah,
Senior
still
year
high
of high
school.
school. All right. So
Uh,
Alex's claim to fame on Buki Zubi, Bouk and Zubi is draft. We're not going to obviously do a draft show, but this show is going to be a couple of different things. First of all, near and dear to our hearts, the green team and the rebuild of the Jets. We're going to discuss what we think, what Alex has been thinking, because we haven't spoken to him in a long time. We'll get into some of the college games, which of course will be well watched by Jet fans, especially Friday night, Oregon, Indiana. And then we'll do our NFL preview where, let's face it, guys, this is probably the most exciting playoff going into it that we've had in years. So happy to have teams like Baltimore and Kansas City sitting at home. So it should be a very interesting show.
Yeah, I mean, listen, even just the run up to the playoffs was interesting. I mean, that Baltimore Pittsburgh game was just crazy, crazy, crazy. And the way it ended, I mean, the guy had not missed a field goal almost the entire year from that range. And he wasn't even close on that last kick. I
Yeah,
mean,
no, yeah, that
so
definitely was
that was a
Heartbreak
crazy
City.
game. That
Rookie
was a,
kickers, John, they always miss a big kick. It's incredible how it happens. And
yeah.
again, that has led to, of course, I guess today's big news because we're talking on Jan 6th, Tuesday, where I'm not gonna say it's a shock. One of my actually good old friends is a huge Raven guy who's basically been asking for the firing of John Harbaugh actually for years,
Hmm.
and he got his wish today. But I will say the grass is maybe always greener if he's thinking that it's that easy to find an NFL coach. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens there. And of course, that will lead with our rebuild of the Jets, where we're not going to have a coaching change, irregardless to what happened to John Harbaugh today. And Alex, do you agree with that? We'll start right there with the head coach, Aaron Glenn, and your thoughts.
to be honest, last off season, I think we all agree there wasn't really like this one coaching candidate. We felt like there was, oh, we have to get this guy. A lot of people like Rabel, but I mean, he was never going to come to the Jets, so it was pointless. And I mean, Glenn was probably the best choice. So it's like, because there just wasn't really great choices out there, which sucks to say. But I still can't even give a fair rating of Glenn because they really gave up halfway through the season. I mean, the general manager gave away two of their best players. They obviously were tanking halfway through the season, which was the right move. I mean, obviously they weren't going to go to the playoffs or anything. They start off like 0-8 anyways. Um, I think the only thing that you could say went wrong is they just didn't tank hard enough. Once again, it feels like every time the worst team in the league, they find out to not actually be the team that's selecting number one overall, which is amazing how they find a way to just not suck enough.
Yeah,
Um,
Always the
But
bridesmaid. It's amazing, and this is a perfect example. And I will agree with you right off there, Alex, because the fan base. I mean, the fan base is beyond this. It's so entertaining because this is where you come, right, John, for sober analysis of the Jets, and Alex kind of fits in right with the way we think. And it was probably one of the most beautiful tank jobs I've ever seen because they gave no doubt that they were not winning any of the games. And anybody who thinks that Darren Muji went into Aaron Glenn's office and said, "Oh, guess what? I just traded Sauce Gardner." No, that didn't happen that way. So Aaron Glenn has a ton of power in this organization. He was on board with those moves, which, let's face it, folks, those were tremendous trades, I think, personally. Now, we'll find out when they actually make the picks and how many they trade out of that return. But how in the world can anybody just not realize? And like Alex said, so I'm glad you said it, Alex, is that this was a organizational tank. And just because they really did it so well, I don't know what people are upset about. What do they want them to do? Look perfect and then like lose by a one play at the end of the game that they were going to purposely make a mistake? They basically said we're going to play Brady Cook, which virtually guarantees that we're not going to win. And John, I did say that right on our last show a while back
Yeah.
that they had no chance to win once they put Brady Cook in there. And then literally the last game of the year, they decide to sit the cornerbacks and Brees Hall, where I didn't even know who was playing on that team. So I mean, I just don't get the fans. It's like tank, tank, tank. They tanked. They tanked. Now, of course, as Alex said, it wasn't a perfect tank. But I mean, let's face it, they got the second pick, guys. And the
Yeah.
last time, John, we spoke, right? They were picking seventh.
Yeah. It was seventh. I wanted to ask Alexander. So if you had a choice right now and you were the GM and you say, okay, I have Aaron Glenn and then I have all these people that have been fired from the other teams, would you consider taking a John Harbaugh?
well, I mean, I think the real question is, are any of those guys, Harbaugh, obviously, people are talking about Tomlin. I mean, if the guy makes the kick, Tomlin's the one that's fired, and Harbaugh has his job and he's playing a playoff game. And I think the other guy, people are talking about is Sean McDermott on the hot seat simply because the Bills, like, if they're not going to do it this year, when are they ever going to do it? There's no Mahomes in the playoffs. So if there was like, you can narrow it down to like, those are probably the three biggest guys, names that are getting thrown around. Like, if I'm one of those three coaches, the Jets call me, I mean, I'm laughing and hanging up the phone. I'm going like, is this like a real phone call? Like, why would any of them want to go from where they are right now to the Jets job? Because they all know they can get a better position. The Jets don't have talent on their roster. They don't have a history of winning ever in the past, I think, 12 years. They haven't had in the 2015, we had a winning record. So I think, what is that, 11 or 12 years now? Like, why would any coach want to come here realistically and coach that has a proven track record? If you're trying to prove yourself and like the only opportunity you have, or you're someone like Aaron Glenn, this makes sense. Um, and on top of that, if you're the GM, halfway through the season, you're the one that decided to trade away and say we're tanking, and now you're just going to fire a coach after one season. I don't think they're going to even consider the
I know, but
slightest
I'm
bit
saying
of
if you were in his shoes and you had the chance, and you had all these available coaches, would you consider making a drastic move like that, or do you just stick with Aaron Glenn and say, you know what, I have a guy that's maybe half as good as everyone else and is inexperienced, and say that they do want to come to the Jets? You give, listen, there were a lot of years in the past that no one wanted to come to the Jets. I mean, this has happened many, many times. It's not the first time no one wants to come to the Jets, but if you offer them enough money, they'll end up coming here. So let's say, for argument's sake, that they do want to come here. Would you consider it?
I mean, I feel like the easy answer would then be yes, but it just doesn't make sense to me because they're just
Okay.
not in a position where it makes sense to move on from Glenn. I think you have to at least give him one more year. arguably two more, because the way they're going to draft this year, they're not drafting once again to compete for a playoff spot. The way they're going to approach free agency, they're not adding these final pieces to compete. You look at their schedule next year, and you're looking at, once again, not a good team. That's just the reality of it. It's going to take multiple years to rebuild. So even if you get a guy like Harbaugh, it's still okay. You're not going to have a winning season next year, even if you had
Mm-hmm.
any of those three guys' names that we listed. Tomlin is like historic for just not having a losing season, and if he came to the Jets, he'd break that streak right away. So it's just that's just the reality of it. It's just you can get any of those guys, but there's just no talent on the roster. And I mean, yeah, maybe they could squeeze out a 9-8 season if they really are that great of a coach, but I think you still have to play the long game for the Jets here.
Okay.
Well, it's so that, and it's there's really only one guy, John, who's going to make these decisions. It's the Jets are not structured properly. Another thing we've talked about endlessly. They don't have a football guy under the owner who's running the organization. They have an owner who thinks he knows something about football, and both the GM and the head coach report to him directly. And Muj, they all work together, John. And there's no doubt they got in a room early in the season. You know, Glenn miscalculated and obviously a few things. His own coaching staff, one, and his kind of this talk early. Because, Alex, I don't know if you've watched some of our older episodes, but we talked about a 3 to 5 year rebuild when this happened. When they got rid of obviously Saleh and then Ulbrich eventually and hired the new team, that's what it was. I don't know where this thought out there was that they were close and they were retooling. I don't know that I think the fan base was out of their mind. So if you look at it from that perspective, they are actually right on target in the 3 to 5 year rebuild because in year two, hopefully you get the quarterback. That's an argument we'll get to when we talk about the quarterbacks. Uh, and then you build around that rookie. Now, of course, they have to make sure that they're not rushing him and he's got a good enough offense around him that he can survive. And then year three kicks in, and the second year, hopefully, with the quarterback, that's when you start maybe spending some money in veteran free agency. And then hopefully that's when you're starting to compete. And then year 4 and 5 is ultimately when you're competing for a Super Bowl. That's what this was. Now, you can argue, obviously, that these guys can't do the job. Of course, it's the easiest thing to do. Oh, they can't do it. They're never going to do it. Well, let's see what happens, right? Let's see what happens. Let
Mm-hmm.
them go through with the plan because when they all got together and decided that they could get great draft capital for two guys that I think most Jet fans realized were basically overrated players. I'm sorry, they were. They were very
And
good players.
overpaid. And
Right. And
overpaid.
they really strategically made a great move there. And let's see kind of how it plays out. Now, am I sitting here trying to tell the fan base that Aaron Glenn's going to be a good head coach? I still don't know. But you hope that he learned from his lessons and that he doesn't kind of like have this arrogant attitude about, like I've done it or something, like I've done this before. So hopefully it was a humbling experience. I really hope he takes it to heart, gets a better staff underneath him, and then let Muji make the picks. And let's see how it plays out. I think the hysteria. I'm sure everybody's going nuts that John Harbaugh should be the Jets coach. I haven't listened to any of the crap. I'm
Yeah.
guaranteed that's what everybody's saying. And it's like, guys, as Alex said, it's laughable that he would come to the Jets. And again, all these guys have flaws. He's just like Mike McCarthy, John Harbaugh. If you look at his track records, right? What's the difference if you think about it?
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that's my thought on it.
Well, I wanted to ask both of you so amongst all these firings, we have some defensive coaches, defensive coordinators that may be possibilities. Is there anything that catches your eye here? I mean, and by the way, I agree with you, Paul, about he made some misjudgments about who he hired, and one of them was Wilkes. I mean, we were all scratching our heads because Wilkes wasn't very good ever. I just didn't. I just didn't understand that hiring. But is there anyone, and I'm posing it to both of you, that you see out there that you think could be a good defensive coordinator for us? Alexander, I'll ask you
Yeah.
first. What
Yeah,
do you
go
think?
first.
Um, I know Michigan just let go of Wink Martindale, and he's just one name that comes to mind because I know last time he was with the Giants, he did a good job, and he got fired because him and Dable just didn't get along. And you look at that and you're like, all right, well, who is that a Dable problem? Is that a Wink problem? Is that both of them problem? But he's a guy that I always liked the way he ran his defenses. I thought he did a good job when he was with the Ravens, did a good job with the Giants. And you saw how much the Giants defense progressed in the last year while they added talent. They literally went from like a middle of the pack defense to I think they were literally ranked last in the league. And it just goes to show you like with the defensive coordinator and how much they matter. Um, so he's like just a guy at the top of my head, but I haven't thought about it too much before then. But that's a guy I would definitely say is a safe hire, just because he has a history of being successful with multiple teams.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I'm hearing Morris's name a lot.
they've thrown his name out there. I don't know about him. I guess you could do worse than him. And the other guy is Jonathan Gannon, who the Cardinals just
Right.
fired as the head coach. He
Yeah.
was the D coordinator for the Eagles. Obviously had success. Very hard, right, to us to evaluate coaches that you just don't watch every week. Now, Wink wasn't with the Giants, so we could get more of a look at him. He obviously was John Harbaugh's defensive coordinator as well, so that could be a package if those again if it's a personality. And again, he's John. What he is that he's like comes from the Todd Bowles school of basically blitz, blitz, blitz. So when you have that mentality, you better have corners who can cover. And the Jets are just, talk about one of their most needed positions. I'm sorry, is corner. I mean, of many needed positions. So, again, you could do worse. Steve Wilkes was just one and done with so many places before he came. We obviously called that before it happened. We weren't the only ones. And again, I'm not saying Aaron Glenn had a terrible season. He had a terrible season. There's no other way about it. Is this it? But to like pretend that he had nothing to do with the trades is just you're fooling yourself. He was a major part of that. It wasn't like it wasn't like Muji was in some corner office talking about this without him knowing. They were all on the same page. And when the offers came in, they were way too good to refuse, right? I mean, Alex, what was your thought when you heard the trades, the compensation? What'd you think?
I remember when the Sauce one, which came first, originally came out, they they actually had the wrong like details with like the return or something. And I saw just like one first round pick or something. I was like, oh, I mean, it's not terrible because like I mean, what did we take him? Like number
It was
four
fourth.
overall?
It was fourth.
Yeah,
Fourth.
yeah. So I mean, it just kind of goes to show you, like, I mean, the Jets just just flipped him like that. Okay, 3 years, progressed every season instead of giving him this massive contract, and just okay, yeah, no, this isn't working. And again, eventually I like a couple minutes later, like Adam Schefter gave the full details, and I was like, wait a minute, we got two first round picks, we got I think it was a third also, and then uh Adonai Mitchell. I'm pretty sure is the right way to say his first name. I thought it was Adonai, but I think it's Adonai.
Adonai,
Um,
yeah.
but and he was a guy who I actually really liked coming in the draft when he originally did. Um, and I was like, you know what, that actually, yeah, I would do that 100 out of 100 times, considering how Sauce Gardner entered the league and peaked the second he stepped on the field. And his rookie season, we looked at him like, oh, like this guy's got a future. And then he just completely just regressed. And every single week, you realize this guy can't tackle and he's
He can't.
holding. I mean, like, I don't know. I've never seen someone regress more. And then I just remember the
And his
first, yeah,
hands of stone.
dude, he just doesn't get interceptions. Like what? Like
He can't
it doesn't
catch.
make sense.
He
Doesn't
cannot
make
catch
sense.
the ball. Alex, we talked about this after the trade, and it was the morning game against Atlanta in Europe, and Sauce Gardner in that game, and somehow the Colts, that was the only game they won
Yeah.
after the trade, and they should have lost that game because I was watching. I'm like, oh, I hope they lose, and it was so close. Atlanta was just couldn't do anything right. There was a play in that game where Gardner got hit in between the numbers and basically it bounced off his chest up in the air. I don't know if you saw that play. It was the
Yeah.
European game. And I was just laughing because John, we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
And then the Quinnen Williams one comes in, and then you're
Yeah.
just like, this is, and it really is amazing. I mean, they got Mozzie Smith as a throw, and he obviously didn't do much. By the way, there was no extra third. It was just 2 1s and Adane. That was
Okay.
the trade. Adani was a second rounder, top of the second round. Anyway, that's one of the
Yeah.
great trades. And that's, let's face it, that's what Joe Douglas did. And this is even better. It was 2 players. Obviously, you get more. So I don't know how people could be upset if John and I are so old and we've lived through all this crap. And we're just like, this is what they should be doing. This is it. I know I don't know why people just don't get it. I really don't. It's really mind boggling. And he deserves all of next year. He really does. Because if they do something stupid, if they draft a quarterback and they're not going to be that good. It's all about year 3, 4, and 5. I hope they can unless he just completely looks like out of his league again. But it was an effort to stink. I don't know why people just don't want to admit that they professionally tanked. I just don't get it.
And Alexander knows we've been Jet fans for a very, very long time, and we still stick with them. I think we may have to get Alexander back on board being a Jet fan because he expressed something to me in the parking lot where he says he won't give another dollar to the Jets as long as Johnson's an owner.
Please, I've never been happier since I gave up my tickets. I think it's on year 11 now, believe it or not. I gave them back. I think it was 14 I gave them up. Greatest decision I ever made.
Yeah,
that
Alexander
crap stadium, and it's just absurd. I mean, and I'm telling people don't spend any money at the game. I mean, you want to make a statement as a fan, don't show up. That's your statement.
Yeah.
That's it. Don't show up. I get it. I understand.
That's exactly what he said. That's exactly what he said. He's actually more financially savvy than we were when we wasted all that money on them. So he made the decision early not to waste money.
I
get it. He had the same idea like you as
John. At
how
his
do you arrange
age,
a boycott?
He hasn't seen a playoff game so I totally get it. I get all the young Jet fans who are frustrated. I get all the old Jet fans who are frustrated. I totally get it. But if you really look at the situation, this is what it was. I just don't we talked about it. We said it. Okay, people don't want to agree, whatever. That's what it is. 3 to 5 freaking years. Oh, the NFL, you can turn it around quick. Okay, easier said than done. It really is easier said than done. And if you don't have a quarterback, and this will be a good move, right, to the ultimate discussion that we wanted to have with you, Alex, the tank worked, in my opinion. You almost got it. You came so close. And now we're going into, Thursday is the first game that, you could argue, we could talk about Carson Beck if you want, and Trinidad Chambliss, right, from Ole Miss. I'd actually like to get your opinion on those two as well. But let's face it, everybody's going to be watching Friday night, Indiana, Oregon, Dante Moore and Fernando Mendoza. And all Jet fans should be on. It's all about Moore. I'm sorry, did I say Dante? Is it Dominic Moore? I always get confused. This poor kid.
Dante.
It's Dante Moore, right?
Yeah.
You want him to outplay Mendoza in this game because that was the one thing that I was dying. Like Mendoza looked so good in his game. He looked too good. So now we need Moore to outplay him for 2 reasons. One, it gets him in the draft, I think 100%. And 2, it gets the Raiders thinking about taking him because I'm personally lean Mendoza. So I'm sorry for talking so much, Alex. So give us your opinion on those two guys and Beck and Sean Bliss as well, because they both could be in the draft.
Yeah, I think everyone's right now leaning towards Mendoza, but I think everyone's thinking highly simply because the success that Indiana's having on the field. But if you really like uh deep dive into it, I did say this to John. One thing is I find interesting is Tom Brady has to report on Mendoza on Fox Sports, and he's praising him. But he also is a minority owner in the Raiders. And the one thing I find interesting is Brady can say all he wants on Fox Sports, but the second that the Raiders on the pick, everyone knows that it's Brady's decision what quarterback they select number one. And Brady is the one that's going to be assessing and uh, all these guys coming through, and he's going to have his choice of, okay, I want Mendoza, okay, I want more. But I don't know. One thing that I'm very critical of when it comes to Mendoza is the way he like reads the defense, the way that Indiana runs their offense. They run way too much RPO, which is unrealistic in the NFL. They're a run first team. They average way over 5 yards a carry. Their run game is very good, which always has teams having to play run heavy defense, which is always opening it up for him. I mean, you can say this about a lot of quarterbacks and the prospects coming out, but I would say that he is very reliant on his number one option. If you watch him play, he's eyeing down one guy every play. And if that guy's not open, he doesn't really look to number two. He looks to get out of the pocket. And that's something that you see a lot of quarterbacks in college that don't translate well to the NFL. And when that's a Justin Fields kind of trait. Just not to like throw shade at Fields, but that's what they do is they look at this one guy, which is Chris Olave is Garrett Wilson. That's the guy he's looking for. And yeah, they're that good. They're open. Like these guys in college simply can't guard them. These guys are open in the NFL every play. And I think the one thing people will critique Mendoza for is will he translate to the pro game? And if Brady doesn't think he can play in the pros, which I think Brady is someone who's gonna not be super critical about it, I would expect Mendoza to go one. The only way he doesn't is if he sees Dante Moore, and just really thinks that Dante Moore is that good. Once again, it's Brady's going to have his pick, heads or tails, on which quarterback he wants. I will say though, Dante Moore, I am like high on him, but I'm not sure if I necessarily want the Jets to take him simply because if we take a quarterback, we're going to suck next year either way. And then odds are, if we're really bad, they're going to fire Glenn. And I agree with everything you said about the 3 years. The truth is, Glenn has to coach this team for 3 years. Like, even though we might not want him to, if he looks really bad next year, like, yeah, we have to give him a realistic time frame. That's a minimum of 3 seasons. Where you look at the first year and you're like, okay, we tanked the second year, we added some assets, maybe it was the quarterback. The third year, okay, now we want to see like a competitive roster. It doesn't have to be playoffs, but we want to see at least 7, 8 wins, like a well-ran team, and make us believe that next year, okay, we retold more in the offseason, and yeah, now it's all about the playoffs year four. Um, but I gotta watch Dante Moore a little bit more because I saw him in the Penn State game, and that was the only game I really watched of him, and that was the game where it was very low scoring. Neither team was really moving the ball, so I personally didn't get a fair assessment yet of him. But I will say I have watched Mendoza. He looks really good, but he doesn't look like an NFL quarterback the way they run their offense. So it's a
All right.
little bit iffy there.
Okay. Well, I'm loving this because all right. So do you want to throw a Beck and Chambliss into any sort of conference? Not with the second pick, but like an option in the second or third, fourth round type of guy. We'll save everything for the draft show, but I just figured since these guys are playing on Thursday.
I actually do like Beck a decent amount. I think I would say that the fact that he's a little bit of an older quarterback, it's a little bit kind of like a Bo Nix situation. I would say that a team like the Broncos was very successful taking Bo Nix because, they had the roster, they had the coach, and they went with the older quarterback, and it was a great fit. I don't know if that's necessarily the fit for the Jets, but I don't think it's a terrible idea actually. Simply because if we take a quarterback at 2, that's the best player in the draft. That's not a quarterback. We're not having that guy on our team, so that's a huge asset. Um, so we can talk about that later on, but they just need to add a lot of talent to this roster. Like that defense does not have talent. That's just the truth. There's
Yeah,
very few guys you can name and say, oh, I like him as a player. Like I have way more fingers on my hand than guys on the defense. I'm confident in naming what position they play. So I mean, the truth is, our offense, like the offensive line, looked like okay. Like there's some moments where you're positive about it. We know we have some younger guys on offense, some talent players, but our defense. I mean, I think taking the best defensive player at number 2 is probably the smartest decision. And if you could pair that with like a second or third round pick of Carson Beck, I wouldn't be opposed to that because I actually see him as someone who could be better instantly, and could actually have us be more competitive next year, which could give us a better assessment of Glenn as a coach. Um, I I, I gotta say, in terms of the Ole Miss quarterback, I think he's pretty interesting to watch play in college, but I'd have to really watch him more because this is his first season. It is impressive that he didn't start the year as a starter, and all of a sudden he got plugged in. And he's had this great season, and he loses his head coach because he takes another head coaching job. So now he like is out a head coach. So I got to give my respect to him, but I haven't assessed him enough to give you a confident answer. But I do like Carson Beck, though. I will say that I would hypothetically like our third round pick. If you could tell me we could take him with that, like I don't really know where he's going so far projections, but I actually would be pretty sold on that.
yeah, they actually don't have a third, right? So they've got the two
Oh,
twos and
that's
the
right.
two
Yeah.
ones, right? Don't forget the Hassan Reddick trade. But I believe because this is going to be the debate of all debates. Because if Moore doesn't come out, that's immediately going to shift to this debate. What will you do at 2? And then who is worth? Because I look at it, guys. They have to take a quarterback among the two that their 4 picks that they have in the first 2 rounds. And this, if they pick a guy in the second round, it's the Jalen Hurts model, right, folks? It's not like unheard of that it can happen if you pick the right guy. They can go that direction, and the nice part about that is, especially if it's the second rounder, he'll be the 4th guy that the team brings in. So there will not be the shining light on this guy, and that does not preclude them for taking a QB next year because they have 3 number 1 picks. And in theory, there's a better draft class. I hate playing that game because who the heck knows, right? This year was going to be very good. It turned out that it wasn't. So people might argue like that pick, that's the Cowboy pick for Beck could be rich, but it's all going to be about the pre-draft process with these guys, right? How do they measure? And again, just how tall they are. Because Moore, they like to say he's 6'3", but I can't wait. Does that include his hair? Because he's one of these guys, right? He looks taller because he's got the hair, right?
6'1" at best.
So
And we all
Easily.
know how they lie about height and weight.
But John, that's a huge factor. I'm sorry, because I mean, I want my QB 6'3" and up. I'm sorry. I mean,
Yeah.
I know there's the outliers. Don't get me wrong. There are, but it's getting pretty old. Keep on saying Drew Brees and Russell Wilson, right? I mean, that's wearing off. So it's still a tall man's game, and you have to be physical as well. So uh, you know, Alex, I gave the comp, and you have to ask your dad about this. I gave the Mendoza comp as Bernie Kosar. So,
Okay.
who's a guy that you would actually have to go back to YouTube and check out. And actually, which is again, we'll give a quick plug for the Elway documentary, John. I don't know if you saw it, but there was Netflix did a John Elway documentary. So there is some highlights of Bernie Kosar in there because of the course, the famous drive that John Elway had. It's actually a great documentary because it's like John Elway didn't win his first Super Bowl until his last 2 years. He won his last 2 seasons. The guy took such abuse in the beginning of his career from the fans. And that's what the Jet fans, it's like, we have to, not only do you have to give the coach time, the GM time, but you have to give the quarterback the time. So if they can somehow pull this off over the next 2 seasons, they have a huge opportunity to rebuild the team. So, Alex, if Moore stays in college, which is still a possibility, especially if he doesn't play well, let's face it, who is the best non QB in the draft? Because I'm looking at this class, Alex, and I think this is one of the weakest classes I've seen in a long time. Tell me I'm wrong, please.
To be honest with you, like there's not this one guy where everyone's like, oh, he's probably the best player in this draft that's on a quarterback. Like you can throw a couple names into the hat, and whenever that's the situation, it typically tells you there's not like this elite end of talent. Um, and that's where the number 2 pick is a weird spot because I don't know if there's anyone in this draft that's like a number 2 value. Like there's no one that like you're gonna say like, oh, like this guy's worth taking number 2. He's more like a number 5, 6, 7 kind of guy, and you're just like, do I really want to take him with the second pick? Which is why I think the Jets should be very open to a trade back this year of most years, because if you're not going to take a quarterback at 2, remember, we have, once again, a lot of positions that we need filled on this roster. And, you can draft a player at 2, but you're only getting one player at the end of the day. And you're just because you add one player to replace Sauce at corner doesn't mean all of a sudden now, oh, our defense is good again. No, I mean, we need a lot of talent on that defense. Like, I'm seriously considering the Jets just draft every single pick a defensive player. I think the Panthers did that a couple years back with Matt Rule, because their defense was that bad. And they ended up drafting, I think, like 2 or 3 players that are still starters in their defense today. And it goes to show you, like, as crazy it is to not just take one player on offense, the Jets need to consider that as an option, because the defense has no talent. I would say I wouldn't want a massive trade back. I would say maybe a couple picks if there's a team that really wants one of the quarterbacks or really wants a certain player. So you can add a second rounder going back a couple spots. That's another star on the roster projection. But I agree with you. There's not this one guy where I'm like, I really want him with the second pick. I can make an argument, yeah, I like him at 5. But now that we have the second pick and we wanted the lowest pick possible, you're kind of in this weird spot where if you're not going to take that quarterback, which we don't know, once again, who's even going to declare for the draft yet, it's a weird spot because I don't really know if there's anyone that's like a genuine number 2 pick in the draft. So
Yeah,
it's
it's
a tricky
tough.
spot.
Yeah, it's tough because, to my view on it, your philosophy has to be, if you're picking in the top 5, it's got to be a quarterback, offensive tackle, edge player who can rush the passer, and you can maybe throw corner. Maybe that would be like my 4th option, but that's my view. When you're up that high, that's where you have to go, and because those guys are so hard to find. And of course, I mean, we don't need O-line. Yeah, we kind of need it a little bit, not on the outside, but there's just no linemen this year. And I mean, I'm sorry, Reese from Ohio State, Alex, he plays on the inside. Now, this could just be Matt Patricia being Matt Patricia. And this kid, even though he looks the part, he's actually, John, on defense, this guy, Alvaro Reese, you'll hear his name nonstop. He doesn't play on the edge. He plays in between the tackles, basically. So it's like, the offensive tackles from a defensive perspective. So to me, it's like, they need that guy on the team. Don't get me wrong, because that's a huge problem. They don't have size inside at linebacker. But to do that at 2 is just crazy. And then the other kid I think maybe is worthy is Downs, who's a safety. And that is, that's another thing. It's just, how can you do it? Because there's David Bailey, right, from Texas Tech, another pass rush guy. But there's no guy there that is just a no-brainer. So I'm happy that you brought up the trade back, Alex, because that is an option. But if Moore comes out, Alex, and the Jets don't take him and trade that pick, and even though you probably, because this is the argument when Zach Wilson got drafted, they should have obviously traded the pick. So we do have a precedent here that same exact scenario. You're picking 2, you missed out on the best guy, but you still took the quarterback. And I'm for more, Dante Moore's probably, if you ever saw this, be like, please don't compare me to Zach Wilson. But that's exactly what happened. The Jets reached beyond reached at 2. And let's face it, look where we are, how many years later. So, this is why it's that GM seat, John. It's not an easy job, man.
And I tend to agree with Alexander on this. If the talent's not there, trade it. Trade the pick and let someone, there's a lot of desperate teams out there that need quarterbacks. So if the pick is not there, trade it and get as much as you can.
And still take a quarterback in the second round. You're on board for that?
Yeah.
You've got to get a young guy in here. They cannot do the bridge. They cannot do the Justin Fields part 2 with another guy with a similar, like Malik Willis. Nothing against Malik Willis, but if they're going to give him like guaranteed money of more than a year, I mean, that to me, I'm sorry. I don't know what you think, Alex. Do you think let's shift quickly to veteran options at quarterback for the Jets? I don't see it. I really don't. I mean, who can become available? Dak Prescott, like something like that pops up. Where would you go on the veteran side?
I mean, it's a good question because, to be honest with you, I would love a situation where the Lions picked up Jared Goff and they had that kind of situation. Like, that's something that I would love for the Jets. But the problem is, there's just no one, at least being talked about, that would get moved in that kind of situation.
Right. And then
Um,
Goff got traded for a quarterback, though, right? That was, they
yeah,
traded a lot for him. Anyway, yeah, continue. Sorry.
yeah. I just feel like there's no one that's actually going to be available. So, I mean, listen, if you're able to like I feel like the best guy you can trade for is like Kirk Cousins, and he's still gonna get paid $40 million a year, which no one's gonna want to do that. So their options there just really they don't exist. And I agree with you about Malik Willis, because the truth is like he doesn't want a 1 year contract.
Right.
The way he played, he proved to a team out there like I think the Steelers are gonna be a team to definitely watch for Malik Willis. A 2, 3 year contract, get paid a fair amount of money, simply because he proved that, I mean, he's a solid quarterback in the right system, a good team around him. He can definitely be competitive. And the Packers know they're not going to be able to afford to keep him because there's definitely going to be a team out there that's willing to give a shot on him. But in terms of who's available, as crazy it sounds, the best free agent quarterback that's going to be out there, I don't even know if you're thinking of him, but it's probably going to be Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Well,
as crazy,
yeah.
yeah, as crazy it is, he's going to get a decent contract as well because look at how the Colts played the second he was gone. And that's going to be his way of selling it to any team.
Yeah.
They couldn't replace me, and they went from going to win the division to couldn't win another game besides beating the Falcons, which was just embarrassing. I like how
Yeah. Yeah.
Sauce go under a one game with each team this year. It's pretty
Yeah, well,
impressive.
he definitely has entered my mind. The Achilles, I think it takes him off the board. I just don't think he can
Yeah.
recover in time.
Yeah.
Well, and we were never fans of Daniel Jones, Paul.
In the tri-state.
We were making fun of the Giants for signing him, if you remember.
Oh, I wouldn't sign him personally. I'm just saying he's the best option if you want to go that route.
And the other guy, my buddy Richie, always keeps on bringing up when I want to kill him every time he says it. Not kill him, but hug him and kill him. Mac Jones, he always throws out to me, and I'm like, no.
Mac Jones.
Yeah. Well,
he's actually probably the second best name out there.
Exactly. John, this is what's out there, bro.
Yeah.
So that's why. I mean, so any way you slice it,
Philip Rivers.
we're all on the same page, which is a little scary that we're actually all being optimistic and patient. So I can guarantee you, go out there, Alex, and look at the other alleged talking heads who talk about the Jets for a living. Then you're not hearing this sort of talk, folks. So tell your friends, right, John? Because we always say we're a word of mouth show, and we want to quickly, make sure everybody who's checking out our content and they're like, oh, Bouk and Zoobie, here they are, these prima donnas They're coming on every once in a while. Well, here we are, folks. We're going to drop episodes as we please. We're so happy to have Alex on the show. He's definitely going to be back for our draft show. We're going to definitely do a show before the Super Bowl. And we'd like to thank everybody for checking out our content, youtube.com, spotify.com, the world famous lir.com, 927lir.com. Like episodes, right? Subscribe to the channels. We appreciate it. Helps out, right, John, with the YouTube algorithm. And for people who are listening, right, if you go to YouTube, you got to kind of, type our names in there, right? Bouk and Zoobie, Bouk, Zoobie. So, Alex, I know once this is out there, people are going to be like throwing rocks at you for your optimistic view on the way they're building, and you're even willing to trade down and get more picks. And a lot of people agree with you. So we want to get that word out there that there are other ways of doing this, but let's face reality. If Dante Moore comes out in this draft, the Jets will take him or Mendoza. And that's what's going to happen. And that will either be a disaster or the end of the search. So, John, what do you think? What is it going to be? Disaster for the 18th time in a row, or for the first time ever, success?
I mean, you have to look at it a couple of ways. Every time I see Sam Darnold playing quarterback, it makes me sick. It absolutely. I mean, I become physically ill because that was one guy I wanted to keep, and we gave him no O-line. I mean, the poor guy had the worst coaches, the worst players, never given a chance, and they go and let him go and bring in Zach Wilson. So I'm trying to be optimistic. I'm Mr. Optimist all the time. So I'm gonna hope that they're gonna get this right. I'm hoping and praying.
All right. Well, and also we just want to point out, right, the Colts pick that we got ended up being 16 in the end.
16.
So,
okay.
I mean, everything went right. Even the other crazy thing happened with that big Giant victory. By the way, thank you, Giant fans, for gifting us that. Was that the Jets have the top pick in the second round, which is very valuable because obviously that opens up more trade opportunities for anybody who slipped. So that's something to watch on day 2. So Darren Muji, I mean, he's going to make a name for himself, guys, in the next couple of years. He's going to be like, he'll be the NFL Executive of the Year within 2 seasons, or he'll be with Joe Douglas scouting, Kennesaw State. So we'll see what happens. All right, man. So, John, you want to go into the NFL playoffs?
Yeah, let's do our playoff picks.
You want to do picks because our preseason picks, we cursed the Ravens. Not only did we curse their fan base, we obviously ended up cursing the coach. So we took a big 0 there, Alex. We both took the Ravens. I took them over the 49ers, which I guess we could start. Let's start with the NFC. Wide open, guys. I'm telling you, I don't even know what to say. So, Alex, that's why we brought you on the show, for not only for your draft guru-ness and your overall knowledge, but you can get on the record here, man. What do you think? I don't know if you have any thoughts about what you thought preseason, if you remember, but what are you thinking in the NFC? You don't have to go game by game. Just give us who you think is going to come out, and if you want to go, give us more details, feel free. Who do you like?
I mean, I think the 2 teams to beat in the NFC, if I had to pick the 2 strongest ones, I mean, obviously you have the defending champs and the Eagles. They're a team that every year they're going to be there. They're going to be competitive. I understand they might not have been so dominant in the regular season, but I remember last year, the second the playoffs started, they were a completely different team than they were in the regular season. There was this kind of switch. And listen, experience matters, and they did it last year. So I definitely think that they're at least the top 2 favorite to come out of that division, out of the NFC. But in my opinion, I would take the second most experienced team, and that would be the Rams. I think Matthew Stafford is going for his second ring this year. He was in the MVP conversation all season long. Him and McVay, the second the playoffs start once again, they were a different football team. The way they played the Vikings in their first playoff game last season, you can see they were just a different team from the way they finished the season. I also think that the connection of Stafford and Puka Nacua, no team can stop that, and they simply can win every game just from those two. Um, and I would say those are probably the two teams to beat. Now, I will say though, I'm going to be rooting for my guy Darnold. I've never actually saw a Jets player get drafted that I had more faith in than Darnold, and I've never seen a team do a worse job of trying to help someone who was the most talented player they've drafted and probably my lifetime, and they really just didn't try at all. They tried everything to actually hurt him and his progression. And they were very successful at that because now here he is, the number one seed in the NFC with the Seattle Seahawks, I think 8 years after we drafted him. If you would have told me when I watched the Jets at number three select Darnold that in 8 years from now he'll be the number one seed with the Seahawks, I would have told you, you got to be kidding me. But that's the world we live in. So I'll be rooting for the Seahawks. But if I had to be honest with you, I had to pick one team. I would say the Rams. They figure out a way to do it simply because it's hard to go back to back. Eagles end up losing to the Rams. I would say that's who I would take in the NFC. But I think a lot of people are just underestimating the Eagles for some reason. And I mean, last year, the second the playoffs started, they had like the most effortless Super Bowl run ever. So I think people need to give a little more respect to the Eagles. And they might lose first game, but still they're the defending champs. So.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on. Yeah, first thing I got to agree is Nakua. I mean, the guy talk about MVP. I mean, guy has just had a tremendous season. Obviously, he won't get it, but I mean, what was it? He had like 140 something catches. I think he ended up with. I mean, it's John. It's like insane.
That's
Fifth
crazy.
round pick, by the way. And just like the guy just does. It's unbelievable. I mean, he had like all these guys staying healthy is so important, and he did miss some games. Yeah, no, McVay, he's a good coach. I don't like any of these teams. I mean, I'm trying to think of what team. Man, obviously, soft spot for Sam too. I'm with you. I just don't like the city of Seattle, honestly. So I don't want to see them win anything. So, John, what are you thinking in the NFC? And I guess I'll go last. But what are you thinking?
NFC, I'm going. It's pretty funny. I actually picked the Eagles to go to the Super Bowl in my preseason. So I'm actually going to stick with that. I'm going to go with the Eagles. And also the Rams. I love the Rams. I think if you see them, I don't know if they actually can. Yeah, they could face off against each other. That's going to be a really tough game to pick. I think that the Eagles will definitely beat the 49ers. The Rams are going to have a very easy game against the Panthers. That's going to be and the Bears do not impress me. I don't know why everyone jumped on this bandwagon. I mean,
there's a second seed though.
I know, but you know what? You can't have miracles every single game. Okay, the they may beat the Packers, maybe, but
No.
I don't see the Bears going anywhere. So really, it's the Rams and Eagles for me too. But I think the Eagles ultimately go to the Super Bowl.
Well, that would be. I mean, let's face it. Last year, right? The Rams played the Eagles the toughest. He actually could have beat them. I'm going to go with San Francisco because I picked them in this preseason. Do I have any faith with that selection? Zero. But there is something to say about the 49ers. They are gritty. I mean, you got to give them credit with all the injuries they took this year. I mean, it's amazing they actually made it. So begrudgingly, I'm going to go with my original pick. All right, Alex, let's head over to the conference that we probably are a little more familiar with, but also, right, wide open.
Open.
This is crazy. So what do you think on that side?
Well, the one thing I do have to say is I've never witnessed an NFL playoffs, and I was thinking about this the other day, and since I became a fan at least, where either Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes is not in the playoffs. And it's weird because it's like there's not this dominant team to pick from.
No.
And obviously the AFC, because I feel like my entire life has had this one team where you look at is like, well, if they're not going to win, is going to win? And there's like this heavy favorite, and that's why I think this playoffs is so much more interesting than any year, is because there's no team everyone's looking at is like, oh, are they gonna win it again this year? Like that's been something that I felt my whole life is like, oh, is this team gonna win it again? So it's a weird feeling, I gotta say. But in terms of the AFC, it's like what team I think is the best in the AFC? I mean, you could pick like 4 or 5 names, and they're all like, kind of equal. Which is why I think it's another interesting year. I would say the Steelers are definitely not going to be that team. They just don't have enough talent on offense, so I'll eliminate them from the list. I don't love the Broncos so much as a 1 seed. I think they're a team that could easily get upset. I got to say that the Patriots have won too many close games with a way too easy of a schedule, to the point where I think we can all agree we don't want to see the Patriots win it, but I would be shocked if they made it the AFC. Um, it's to be honest, I feel like the favorite has to be the Bills to win this. They are the most experienced team, even though they've never gotten there. They're the only team here that you really look at as like the favorite to come out. So I would take the Bills, but if I had to say, if the Bills beat the Jags, I think they win the AFC. But their hardest matchup, I think they'll have the entire playoffs, will be their first game down in Jacksonville.
Okay.
That's not going to be an easy game. And I think there's a good chance the Jags will win it. But if the Bills do win that game, I think they go through the AFC. And I got to say the Texans also very solid team. If the Bills do lose, I could see the Texans as another team that makes it out. I would say I think it's a three-way tie between Bills, Texans, and Jags who makes it out of the AFC. But if the Bills win that first game, I think they make it out. If the Bills lose that first game, I'll take the Texans. So that'll be my pick right there.
All right. Well, you stole a little my thunder at the end. I was hoping, John, that Alex would get through without mentioning my team. Now, again, I did not pick them. I did pick them to make the playoffs. Big deal.
Yeah.
I'm going with Houston. I that pass rush that they have is gonna. I think if people crumble in that, and I think Stroud is good enough. They've got receivers, including one of Alex's guys, right? We'll have to mention the Higgins, right? Jalen
Yeah,
Higgins,
Jaden
Jaden
Higgins. Yeah.
Higgins, who actually contributed a lot. And of course, we'll quickly mention R.J. Harvey, right? That was one of your other guys. And then the third guy was like a DB with the Raiders, so it's kind of like, that's purgatory. So who knows how it was? He played, right? Porter was his name, right? I think.
Yeah. I think it was Joey Porter.
So not
But
Joey. It wasn't Joey. Joey's with
oh
the
wait,
Steelers. That's old Joey's buddy, son. Anyway, yeah. I can't remember his first name. The kid Porter that you picked also. So anyway, kudos to that. We had to throw that in, John. Sorry. So yeah, I will. I'll shut up now. I just look at this pile. I'm looking at it, and I think like the Bills, but I just think their defense is just not good enough. I just don't
Yeah.
think they're good enough on defense. And the Pats, I just think it's one of those that I just can't see it. And the same thing with Denver too. So I do actually like the Texans. I mean, they play this. The thing is, they're on the road the whole way. Can they go up into New England hypothetically and win? I mean, it's possible the Chargers upset them. It's not out of the question. So anyway, I'll go Texans. John, who do you got?
I'm just going to be doing this on sentimentality here and hope and pray that the Bills make it to the Super Bowl.
You want it happening. All right.
I really want them to. I would like to see in my lifetime see the Bills win one Super Bowl.
It's
So,
true. Can you imagine being a Bill fan? I mean, there's nothing like being a Jet fan. We're in a class by ourselves, but being a Bill fan and never being able to win the big game is tough. So yeah, now guys, it should be great. I mean, there's nothing better than these first weekend coming up when everybody's playing. So what? It's Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. So I mean, yeah, we'll definitely be back after the, probably pre-Super Bowl, John. Right? Now, who knows? You never know. Maybe we'll do a show before that. So anything else from the NFL guys before we'll quickly go around the tri-state because we've been talking so long. So anybody else got anything else with the NFL? Alex, you want to throw something out there you wanted to mention that you haven't?
Not that I can think of now.
All right. As always, right? We cover everything, John. So, John, I'm going to open it up to you. You've got a choice. We won't talk about the Rangers' season ending today with their injuries. That's another story. So we'll just throw them out the window. John, what do you want to talk about? You got your choice.
I'm going to talk about very quickly, and I'm going to go to Major League Baseball.
All right, go for it. What do you got?
Of course, I'm going to talk about the New York Mets, and it's been a couple of weeks. And a lot of things have come out since we last spoke.
Yes, been by 4.
And we're going to talk about incompetence even more as we find out more of what's going on. So I know the Diaz signing was a shock to everyone, but Diaz actually disclosed that the Dodgers made an offer to him, as did the Braves. The Braves actually offered him a 5-year contract. The Dodgers ended up offering him 3 years, $69 million with deferrals. He actually had to have his agent call the Mets. The Mets didn't call him. Have his agent call the Mets so the Mets can make him an offer. And then they came back, and this was disclosed, 3 years to $66 million, but they wanted $21 million deferred over 15 years. I mean, again, just incompetence when we're coming to negotiating. You're letting your closer go. So, I mean, these things come out after the fact, but it's good that we're hearing about this. The other point I'm going to make is, we're hearing all these, as Paul and I spoke about many, many times, about that clubhouse. And we're starting to learn a little bit more about what's been going on in the clubhouse. And first it happened with Nemo, that Nemo didn't necessarily get along with Lindor because he was a Trump supporter. And then we learned that McNeil's a Trump supporter. Then we know that Alonso's a Trump supporter. So guess who's gone off the Mets? 3 Trump supporters. Yet Lindor's wife is working for Mamdani now. So what's wrong with this picture? What is wrong with this picture? Listen, if it's purely baseball moves here, I understand, but I'm starting to get a real sneaky feeling that it's a lot more than just baseball moves here. That they wanted to clear out. I mean, the fact that Nimmo did not want Lindor as the team captain and was vocal about it, and for him to okay a trade, there's some. Paul, you and I called this. We saw it coming. We felt it, and you have all these talkies saying, "Oh, we're okay with Stearns making all these moves." And I said, "Okay, what was wrong with the Mets last year? Pitching. They're blaming the core for the reason why they had 83 wins. No, it wasn't. It was no pitching that Stearns never addressed." And people are just saying, "Oh, hey, we're going to give Stearns." He's done such a phenomenal job, and very, very quiet this winter. Very, very quiet. I'm waiting to see what are they going to do here. But I think there's a lot more than just baseball trades here. I think they want to get rid of anyone. Lindor's very outspoken against Trump, that we're learning. I hate to bring politics, but this, to me, is clearly what happened here. It wasn't even, we've already spoken about these trades and these
Yes, we have.
non-free agent signing. And
John, what show was talking about the clubhouse issues but our show? I know we're a small little show, right, out there, but John, we talked about it and we said it and went back to the old, Wiley Raccoon story, whatever the heck that was, with McNeil and Lindor, or whatever animal that allegedly they were. I don't know what that whole mess was. And we said there was a problem. And when Pete came out and said there are some good guys and some good guys in the front office, John, it's and again, we talked. This is so funny, and that's why I love doing what we do, because we go on the record, right or wrong, and this one we nailed. And this is only time will tell, right? Because this is
Well,
going
you
into the
had
season, John. They have to win. Like, this team has to win ball games, John. They have no chance if they don't get off to a good start. I mean, it's just I mean, we talk about the Jet fans not showing up. It's the same with the Met fans. Don't show up. That's the only way to get your point across. I'm sorry.
But unfortunately, like I told you, that they suckered everyone into buying season
Well,
tickets in September. So it's not
I
actually
understand.
going to show up this year, maybe next year, but you're
Well,
going to see empty stands. Let's put it
right.
that
No,
way.
the season ticket holders I know are in an impossible spot, but there's still a lot of people who do the smaller plans, right? And the even single games they'll go to.
Right.
Those people have to stay home. It sucks. I know, Alex, you're not in, I don't know, you're not a baseball guy, but we've been talking about this stuff with the Mets disaster. You know,
Well,
anyway,
I want to hear Alex.
yeah. Do you have
Alex,
an
what's
opinion?
your
I'm sorry,
opinion?
Alex.
Yeah, no, he actually
Is
follows
he a
the
Met
Mets.
guy? Is he a Met guy?
Yeah,
Yeah,
unfortunately,
yeah.
he is.
Well, I mean, I thought he only was working on the draft. That's all I thought he was working on. So, all right, Alex, what do you think about the Mets?
Yeah. I mean, I never really was a fan of Stearns. I feel like Stearns would do a pretty good job if he was trying to rebuild the Jets. The problem is you have the Jets who's like trying to play this long game is like I believe the right way to build them. And he comes into a team where the Mets are in a situation where they're trying to play this long game. And that's what he's trying to do here. And he's trying to play chess and everyone's playing checkers. And I hear they don't re-sign Alonso because he's trying to, I forgot what term they said. He's like trying to be like ahead of when he like declines or something. He's like, oh, why would I sign a player to a 5-year contract? It's only gonna be good for 4 years. It's like what? Like what are you talking about? He's like trying to be so precise of every move he makes and over calculating. And it's like he's like this like math wizard, and he's like, no, this is what the equation says. God forbid we do anything besides that. And then they break the bank for Juan Soto, but then God forbid you gave $4 more million to Edwin Diaz so he can come back and be your closer for 3 years. Like to me, like where do you draw the line in terms of okay, let's spend money, okay, let's be cheap, because they gave an extra seven. John, how much was it that they freaking signed Soto for? 725 or something. But you just can't
765 million.
65. But you couldn't give an
765.
extra and you couldn't give an extra 5 million to the best closer in baseball. I mean, I just they just doesn't make sense to me at all. And I also don't understand why he has to be so cheap with the starting pitching. I mean, he has all these guys he's signing guys that, for example, Clay Holmes never even like started a game. He's not a starting pitcher. He just gets his closers like, okay, we're gonna make this guy a starter. Like what? Like what do you like? It's just like a crazy move. And like I'm not even saying that it was a bad move or anything. Like, I actually think it was a decent move, but like still, like it's such a high risk for like a what kind of reward are we even going for with a move like that? Um, which is he just makes moves that like I just don't understand. And I feel like you don't even need to be that knowledge in baseball to be like, why is he like overthinking everything so much? Just doesn't make sense. I feel like he'd do a better job if he was trying to rebuild a team like the Jets, and you knew players didn't want to play for them and things like that, and he had to be really smart and calculate with his signings. But he doesn't have that problem with the Mets, so I don't get it, man. It's not my cup of tea.
It's called arrogance and thinking that you're smarter than everyone else. That's what it's called.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's enough of the Mets. So I'm gonna.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you got to get at least one more subject in. I'll let you get a couple more in, but we don't want to run too long tonight. So what
All
else you
right.
got?
Well, very quickly with college basketball. So Paul's favorite college basketball team, Baylor, decided to go for Mr. Najee, who was in the G League for the Knicks, and actually will actually help your team out very, very much. He's actually going to make a big difference. He actually was playing very, very well. I mean, actually, a person you could actually speak to about Najee is Jamal Smith because he was very high on him coming to the Knicks.
Right. So yeah.
So what do you think about this whole thing that
Well,
they
I mean, John,
circumvented and now we have this thing that he was
yeah,
undrafted, he's in the G League,
right.
he's practically a professional, but we'll call him in the middle of the year and help out Baylor.
Hey, it's a crazy story. So James Najee, right, was a #1 pick. He was the 31st guy selected. I can't remember who did. There's been multiple times. He was traded on draft night, right?
Charlotte. Yeah, he was Charlotte.
Right. And then the Knicks acquired his rights somehow, and he ends up in the G League. But the rules are that if a guy gets drafted by the NBA and never signs an NBA contract,
right,
his eligibility is not extinguished. And I credit what Scott Drew did at Baylor because Baylor's had some injuries, right? And they were literally playing 7 guys. And they found out that he was available, and they went for it, and they got him. And the funny thing is, John, you'll love this because he's only played the 1 game, and they lost. They didn't even have his name on his jersey. Now, I don't know what the heck happened over there. Like, I don't know if the coach was thinking, oh, like, don't put his name on his jersey so the fan, because that was at TCU, they were playing their rivals, that they were going to, like, start cursing him out with his name. So, like, oh, let's not put his name on his jersey. I'm like, I have no idea how that happened. So, yeah, they've got 2 really big games, their next 2 games, a Wednesday night against Iowa State and then Houston on the weekend at home. And I will keep everybody up to date on his progress. He's raw, John. I mean, but as always, you can't teach height. You can't teach wingspan. And he's got both of those. He's got a little bit of a temper, I noticed, and kind of getting on the officials early. And he's very handsy. Like, he had a couple of plays where he blatantly fouled. They didn't even call it. So he could end up being, a foul out machine too. But again, like I said, you can't teach those traits. And
so
he's got
okay.
4
so
years.
You're okay with this. You're okay with the college teams doing this.
Because the rule is that if they don't sign the contract, it's not like.
I'm going to ask you, do you like that rule?
Do I like the rule? That I don't really have a problem with the rule. Okay, change the rule and say anybody who's drafted in the NBA is ineligible. It's simple. Change the rule.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like they didn't cheat. It's because the rule didn't exist. It's not like they went to court or something.
No, I know.
Literally, that was the rules. I don't know. Other teams were sleeping. I mean,
no, Rick
maybe
Pitino,
the kid didn't want to do it originally. Who knows? I don't know.
Rick Pitino was actually considering going to the G League to get a point guard for St. John's. He actually spoke about that. And I said, why didn't he? We need a point guard. How about we have some players with guts that know how to finish a game?
All right.
St. John's has lost every game. All those losses, they were ahead at the half, and sometimes by 10 or more. I mean, the last game was a complete disaster. I was there to witness it. It was.
I know. I'm disappointed. Obviously, it's like you throw these guys together, John. Everyone thinks it's going to mesh right away. I mean, it's still every team's played like 1 or 2 conference games, so we got tons of time.
Yeah, but
Baylor's not winning anything, John. That's not good enough. The surrounding team isn't good enough. He'll help them.
This team is not as good as the one last year. It's very disjointed.
You're talking about St. John's.
Yeah, St. John's. Defense is not there. I just the mix. I don't know. They have all these scores, but it's almost like they're confused out there. They're confused.
And John, we said it from the beginning. I've been saying it the whole year. No point guard. You got to have a guy who can distribute the ball. Sellers is probably the best guy they have, but he's a shoot first type of guy, right? So they just have like a bad mix. Now they're putting Jackson in. They're playing a little better. Like you said, terrible loss to Providence. John, but it's very early. I know they're getting bashed by the college basketball expertise people out there saying they're not a tournament team. Funny, one of their wins is over Baylor, so that's not going to be enough to get in. Both those teams will, struggle to get in. I think they'll both get in. Hopefully they do. All right, John, you got the Knicks left. Let's do it. I got to ask you, something's weird with this team. Is it just that our boy Josh Hart is not playing, and that's the glue? And when you take the glue off the court, everything else falls apart. What do you think?
Uh, well, Josh Hart is obviously a big part of the success of the Knicks. But as I've been saying to you from the beginning of the year, there's no defense. For a while there, they had like a spurt where they actually played some defense, but they're going back to. I mean, I don't know. They almost look like they're confused on defense. I mean, that Brunson's never going to be able to guard anyone, and Towns just can't move. He's not very good. So when you have Robinson out and you have Josh Hart, you're talking about the other team scoring 130 points a game, 140. So yeah, we are missing Josh Hart terribly. We really need to get Robinson on there more. I like Diawara. This kid is long. You know who I'm talking about. I mean,
Yeah,
he's
of course.
20
He was a
years
draft pick.
old, but what
He was a
the
draft pick, yeah.
wingspan on this kid?
Can't
He,
teach.
he actually plays very good defense. I'd like to see him more, but for them to go anywhere this year, they have to learn how to play defense. They can't think that they're going to outscore everyone. I mean, look how Detroit just totally destroyed them last night. And the 76ers really played really rough with them and beat them twice. So if Embiid and your man VJ Edgecombe, what a player he is. What a player he is.
I know.
I didn't realize he was going to be that good in the
John,
NBA.
don't get me started with.
He's going to be a major star. He's going to be a major star.
Don't get me started with him because Scott Drew had his worst coaching year with him last year. I don't even want to go there. I don't even want to say anything. The guy is special. I love him. He's a good kid too.
Yeah.
All right. How about Alex?
Alexander actually went to the Christmas game and saw a great comeback. Actually, they were in a high. What do you think, Alexander? What's going on with the Knicks?
I think their problem is they have this rotation that they don't stick to. And the problem is like, yeah, there's injuries, yeah, there's things like that, but they're always trying out new lineups. They're always trying to see if certain things are working with certain players. There's no consistency. Like you look at the Sixers, you look at the Pistons, teams that are beating them, and every single night in and out, they have the same starting lineup. They have the same guys on the court closing these games. And not that I'm against Mike Brown for trying these things out, but I think people are overreacting these situations in the regular season because every single year in the NBA, we're proven that the regular season simply does not matter the second the playoffs start. Historically, Jimmy Butler has proven that to be true. In more recent years, the Indiana Pacers have proven that to be true. And just go off last year, the Cavs were dominant in the regular season. The second the playoffs starts, it's like, was this was the best team in terms of the record? Everyone like you would have no idea if I told you. And then you look at the Celtics who dominated the Knicks in the regular season, then all of a sudden they are blowing these massive leads to the Knicks in the playoffs, and they just hand the Knicks the series, which obviously as Knicks fans we took it, but it's just a joke. How the regular season just has no transition to the playoffs. So I know I think people are getting critical of Mike Brown early because you're not seeing this defense, you're not seeing this consistent lineups, but he's doing that intentionally because he wants to see what he has right now. So when the playoffs comes around, he's not in a situation where he's Tom Thibodeau, who's throwing Landry Shamet in there and like hoping and praying that these guys all of a sudden now are going to come and save the Knicks. He's actually testing this out in the regular season, which I think is a good way to play it. He's having a slow approach to the year because I think Mike Brown knows that ultimately, the second the playoffs start, everything we did in the regular season does not matter. The lineups I put in there in the regular season do not matter. I think you're going to see in the last 2 months of the season, we'll see the Knicks really pick it up in terms of their win-loss percentage, because I think you're going to start to see a lot more consistency with the starting lineups. But I would still say the Knicks are the favorites in the East, even though like people want to be critical about it. Like you look at the Pistons, Knicks are more talented. They're a better team. They should beat them in a series. It's that simple. But I will say that I think the biggest threat to the Knicks is the 76ers. And the last time they played them, I was like, okay, that's exactly my first thought was if there's any teams the Knicks lose in the playoffs to that I think they have the highest chance to, it's the Sixers. And that's the team that I don't want to play in the playoffs. But I mean, I'm really not that afraid of the Pistons simply because last year we had their number. And I think that we got even better than last year. So, I mean, I think they got better too as well. But I think the 76ers are our biggest threat. And I think the reason everyone's overreacting is there's no consistency with our lineups. And these guys are just, we have different guys closing out every game. So there's just no consistency. So I think it's really throwing people off.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, if Embiid stays healthy, the Sixers are going to be a problem.
They're a big
And that's a
problem.
big if. And also Paul George. I mean,
Yeah.
let's face it, he's another guy. Can he? Because they're playing, Oubre's not even playing, right? So he
Yeah.
got hurt. He'll be back. If
And
they're 100%.
and then you have Maxey. I mean, Maxey's a
Maxey,
great player too.
John, he's
That's
got to
just
be.
so good.
He is one of the most exciting players. I think I mean, come into the league in years. I mean, he's now been how many years now? 4 or 5 years, right? I think
Yeah.
he played at Kentucky, right? He's tremendous, isn't he?
Yeah.
They're tough, but the Knicks are not 100% healthy either. So, a lot to talk about, John, going forward. I'm sure. Hey, that's a good problem, right, Alex? Because let's face it, my friend, as we always joke with our teams that we talk about on our show, we haven't won since 1994. Okay, and here we are, 32 years later, because we are now entering 2026. Happy New Year, everybody. Please, again, like the episodes, drives that algorithm. So, John, I'll give you one last word. And if you don't have any words, just who do you got to thank?
Well, first I want to thank Alexander for coming on the show. He always does a great job.
Yes.
And again, we look forward to his new picks a couple of months from now. And again, we'll see what happens.
He's going into the lab after the end, right after the college football playoff. Alex goes into his special lab where he tells his teachers that he's studying for the next exam, but he's actually got in the film room. He's got the all 22 on. Oh, it's the NFL stuff. All right, whatever the college version of Alex, right, of the all 22. He's going to come up with the names because he's right now. The way things are going, and Muji gets fired in a few years, Alex. And if your picks keep coming through, John, what do you think? Might be the new GM.
Yeah, we
got
to put in a good word.
I tell you, he's doing pretty damn good. Thanks again. Thanks again, man.
And again, as always, thank you to our producer, Zach Zubulake, and to our loyal listeners and viewers. We love the feedback. Keep it coming. Also, thanks to our community partners, Ronald McDonald House, Kids in Seats, and the Jackie Robinson Foundation. See you soon.